Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the town board meeting tonight, October 25th, 2023. After the town board meeting, we will immediately have a second meeting of the Ramapo Local Development Corporation. So at this time, I'll open the meeting and I'll ask our clerk to, we'll start with the pledge. So I'll call upon our attorney, Neely, to lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll ask our clerk to, I'd like to take a moment of silence in memory of the more than 1,400 innocent people who were murdered on October 7th in Israel, including Israeli citizens, American citizens, citizens of over 2 dozen other nations, and also the memory of the hopes that the more than 200 abducted people as hostages will be safely returned immediately. Thank you. And now we'll call upon the clerk to call the minutes.
Councilman Rosman?
Here.
Councilman Monaco? Deputy Supervisor Charles? Here. Councilman Whitehurst?
Here.
And Supervisor Beck?
Here, thank you. We're going to start with public participation. If anybody wishes to speak, we can give an opportunity to do so. We'll ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes in duration. Start off with your name and address. Just to clarify, we have the continuation of the public hearing on the Miller's Pond planning development and local law amendment. That will be a separate public hearing, so if you're here to speak about that, there'll be an opportunity shortly thereafter to do that. So, does anybody wish to speak in public participation tonight? Yes, Ms. Minnis.
Good evening, Lord. Deborah Minnis, 5 Roseville Road. I just wanted to ask that the board consider for the large public hearings actually leaving the bi-directional Zoom option open. Maybe not for all the town board meetings, because it's a little bit of overhead, but for these larger meetings, I think it's very important. I know I was sort of assaulted by a number of people asking if I could bring things in or do this, whatever, and it's really hard for the public to understand that, you know, they don't show up, they don't say anything, and then they do go around, and it does put the onus on us. I think that there are a number of people I know who are sick tonight and would have loved to have participated directly, but they didn't want to put their health at risk or the risk of anybody else. I think that for the large public hearings, I think this is a very important thing for you guys to consider, and I hope you will.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak at this time? We have a motion by Deputy Supervisor Charles to close the public participation, seconded by Councilman Rossman. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. Public participation is closed. Go to item 2, which is the continuation of the public hearing on the Miller's Pond Planning Unit Development and Local Law Amendment. We have our land use attorney, Ben Gailey, here. Mr. Gailey, I'm going to ask if you can just do a little preface to the board about where we're at.
Sure. The public hearing started last month. Board continued it, and to tonight's meeting. Since the last town board meeting, the planning board has reviewed this project and has adopted a resolution which has been sent to the town board, which recommends approval of the preliminary PUD, the associated local law, and also of the requested open development area approval by the town board. So tonight the board will continue the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Gailey. Also, I believe we received late Monday the county's general municipal law review, and if you could summarize to the board and the public the findings by the county.
Well, the county has recommended numerous modifications, including the town board assuring that all other agency approvals have been obtained, and also for the town board to take a look at certain of the provisions of the draft local law that's before the board, and the public may comment on tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Gailey. So this time, I'll call upon the attorney for the applicant, Mr. Rizzo, if you'd like to address the board.
Good evening, Daniel Rizzo, Whiteman, Osman, and Hannah, attorneys for Mount Ivy and from LLC. And actually, we're anxious to hear the remaining public comments that are coming in tonight, and look forward to developing responses to those comments and assisting the board in the continuing review. We have reviewed the GML from the county, a number of good points of details to nail down a little further than we've had in our local law, and we'll work with the council as well to make sure we are in a position to address those to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. So this time then, I'll open this up to the public. If anybody wishes to address the board, again, please give your name and address and confine your comments to 3 minutes. Anybody wish to speak? Oh, we have people signed up, so we'll call them in order.
Please don't start the clock until after I give my name and my address. Thank you. So that we get my comments.
Can I wait? You let me know when you're ready.
In about 6 minutes, how about that? Okay, thank you. Nana Koch, I live at 45 and 47 South Mountain Road, in the Ramapo section of New City. So it seems quite apparent that both the town and Mr. Kazanovsky, the developer, want the Miller Pond project to move forward. But without goodwill toward all the members of the community, the size and scope of this project will be soured by bulldozing ahead and giving those who oppose the development the feeling that nothing said will make any difference. Many of us stand here and speak our minds for 3 minutes, but we never get any responses from the board or the builder. At this stage in the project's trajectory, goodwill here would mean having workshops where community members, board members, and the developer come together to talk about all the issues, of which there are many. For example, the plans are extensive, and it has been said by the developer that the logistics related to water, traffic, housing needs, community services, and schools are in order. However, as has been pointed out by many community members, the traffic study needs to be updated because it is not clear if all that is proposed for the town of New Hempstead and the Ramapo nursery site have been taken into consideration. There has also been what I consider a grossly undercounted amount of school needs regarding money allocations to an already strained and chaotic system that will have to support more special education services and busing, which also poses significant traffic issues. And there's the issue of how fair housing laws will be enforced, and how the affordable housing needs of young couples without many children, downsizing citizens, and downsizing citizens and first responders will fit into buying or renting in a development that seems to be specializing in apartments with multiple bedrooms that will house large families. And what about water needs? Rockland's water supply is finite, not infinite, and people still live in homes with wells that rely on a healthy aquifer. We just can't keep building and building with the hopes that the water needed to sustain life will continue to sustain development. And what about waste? Where will the tons of new garbage be taken? What about taxes? Will the town have to raise them to pay for all the community services needed, like those that employ sanitation workers, police, and teachers? Here's where goodwill will come in. I ask that you set up meetings for discussions so community members don't feel unheard regarding all of these issues. Show good faith that our concerns are heard by talking to us directly, addressing the issues, and when possible, making changes that community members voice. What happens with this PUD has implications for further building in the town, and goodwill can't be squandered because the developer, who is setting his own rules, wants to move the project forward now. I implore you to set up meetings with the community, the board, and the developer. I also ask that the board not vote on this project until every public concern is addressed. And I thank you.
Thank you.
I would like this to be on the record, so can I get I still talk?
Yes, go ahead, 10 seconds, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Who's next on the list?
Leo Dunlop. I'm gonna wait until you say your name and address.
Sorry?
I'm gonna wait until you say your name and address.
Okay.
My name is Leo Dunn Fox, 5 Dogwood Place, Pomona, New York. I've lived in Rockland County for over 50 years. I've conducted businesses here, I've employed people, and I've brought up a family in Rockland County. When we built my home over 30 years ago, it was explained to me that I was building in a part of the county that highly regarded nature and not to expect extensive development. I was told that the zoning reflected the wishes of my neighbors to maintain its character, and I even put my home in a land trust so the property is protected from development after I'm gone. This community suited my family. It was only a 20-minute drive for my wife to get to work in Chestnut Ridge. Now, both my wife and daughter both work in Chestnut Ridge, but it takes twice the time for them to get there. The morning traffic on 45 can keep us bottled up on Twin Pines until you dare to make a dash on Route 45. Then the wait for traffic to filter onto the Palisades Parkway, which can be a parking lot. If you try the back way on Pomona Road, it can also be a dead stop. And then comes the endless school buses. The community does not have the infrastructure to accommodate the plans to develop the golf course property with development that cannot be reversed and will be overcrowding our roads, spoil our views, and negatively impact the lives of all those who now live here. The question is, who benefits from this project? And it's clear that there is no benefit for any family now living in its proximity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tyra Solina.
My name is Kira Sonye, and I live at 6 Dogwood Place in Pomona. Forgive my outfit, I've come from work. I want to say that I moved here about 8 years ago or 10 years ago. I'm not a long-term resident, but I moved to the northeast part of Ramapo because of the nature of that it had a rural look to it. And I know that the last major planning study there was a decision to keep development on the southern parts of the town and keep that northern part of the town with the beauty that it has, because it's relevant for people coming to visit here, other people coming to visit. And my biggest concerns, I know there are many, I have a well on my property, and I cherish that water. It's delicious and pure, and the kind of development that you're talking about has the possibilities to damage my well and the aquifers that are its streams feeding into. And a big problem is the traffic. This morning, I went to Dunkin' Donuts at the corner of 202 and 45 and came back to my house, and the traffic at about 8:30 was backed up from Down to Earth Nursery all the way to the traffic light to enter the Palisades. So that's a third of a mile of cars stopped. And that's in one direction. If I were to be trying to get out of my neighborhood from Twin Pines and take a left onto Route 45, I have to struggle to get myself into all of those cars that are waiting to go south. And I can wait. Basically I have to force my way in. Sometimes I take I go across the northbound lane where I could get hit by a car because I have to just push my way to take that left. And with 600 units coming, almost, over 2,000 bedrooms, how many cars are you putting on the road? How many more cars? That's going to be at least 1,200 cars. And I would like to see a new traffic study and a water study, if nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you.
give it to us on the list?
Now we'll just open it up to people in the audience. Yes, sir.
I signed up in the back there. I came late because of the traffic that we were just talking about. So I signed my name on the sheet.
Welcome to come up right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Richard Lo Cicero, 16 Dogwood Lane, Pomona. Our family moved here to Rockland County over 20 years ago. We chose to buy a home here in northeast Ramapo because of its natural beauty. The overbuilding and traffic and high taxes forced us to move from New Jersey. Our fear is now that we are coming up against the same thing that we had there. It's amazing. Again, I'm all upset because I sat in traffic trying to get here and I was late. And we wrote this down. My wife and I are both very unhappy with the way things are going on. The additional housing, the traffic, the wells, you name it. Please consider every voice and do the right thing for all of the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Same thing, I got hit with the traffic, I just like to go quickly.
My name is Christian Fry. I'm also from the same neighborhood. I would echo what all my,
Yeah, we need your address.
I'm sorry?
Your address, Mr. Fry.
6 Dogwood Place,
Thank
Pomona.
you.
Sorry. I would echo what all my fellow citizens have said, and I'll be brief to say the one thing that I haven't heard anyone mention in terms of how this would impact the area is when you have this much traffic on Route 45, what are you going to do when a fire engine needs to get in? What are you going to do when an ambulance needs to get in? What are you going to need to do when police need to get in? They won't be able to because it's going to be insane, that much traffic on such a small road. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ladies in back.
Thank you. I live at 31 Dogwood Lane, Pomona, New York.
Your name?
Carol Bowman.
Go ahead.
I've lived in the home that I live in now since I was 4. I'm now 72, and I'm not going anywhere. And that's what I think you need to understand, that the people who live here are not just going to take up and find a new community to live in. We will stay and we will fight this. I believe that there is no sane planning board that would ever approve the kind of development that is being proposed here. It is a crime. It is so overwhelmingly too many people in one small area. There is no way, how can anybody even consider to approve that? You are the people who we elect to make sure that you take care of the area. What's going on that you're not doing your job? You are not protecting us from the predation of developers who have a whole, that they're not going to be living here with 500 new apartments that have up to 15 people in them at times. Just the multiplication is ridiculous. There's no sane world in which people who are supposed to be protecting us from the, I said the predation and I still stay with that, but people who come in, buy the property, destroy it, create so many problems for all of us who are sitting here right now. It's not just me, it's every one of you who sits there will have a degraded quality of living because of that, except for the people who make the money and run off to some other part of the world to live a better life. So I ask you to take into consideration the fact that this is an absurd project. This is an absurd number of dwellings being built in a small area, and there is no planning theory that could possibly say, oh, this is such a good idea, right? It is a plunder of the beauty and the natural resources of our area, and I count on my elected people, my elected representatives, to do the bidding of the people who elect them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak at this time? Appears to be yes.
We'll go through a couple of things. Deborah Munitz, 5 Roseville Road. I actually brought, I just want to make sure it's on the record. So I was asked to carry over the American Legion's letter because they're having a dinner tonight and Gordon Brown passed on to me, so that should be in that stack. Michael Miller and Dorothy Miller are both sick. And Bruce Levine had asked if they would please send over to the board the arguments for me with respect to the Pascack Bridge. Their key concern is making sure that things are done according to Bruce's last request at the last meeting to ensure that there's no segregation by doing full housing analysis of needs and mixing apartment mixes. So that was given to Sarah as well. I'd like to speak for 3 minutes for Rosa and then 3 minutes for Ray, if that's okay. Thank you. And this will be quick. So I actually, we have a cover letter that we submitted, and we submitted a letter of Jonathan Lockman, which is a significantly updated version of the letter he submitted to CDRC in February on this project. There's a lot of specific details, and I'm not going to go into them because I got a sense from the attorney that he is going to comment on them, and so I'm making a presumption, and it would be nice if that was clear tonight, that you're not passing anything, because I think it sounds like everybody wants to do the right thing. And I want to say that I do really respect the professionalism of this applicant. They have done an excellent job representing their vision and their project. And I think the key message that comes from our organization, because we have been focusing on land use, precepts and seeker in particular, that following the procedures of seeker is really important because it provides a real good framework for boards to make their decisions, because it forces the coordination and it provides a structure for getting input on the issues at the right time. For this particular project, this is actually, it's not the beginning because you already changed the comprehensive plan, indicating that the town board, wants to consider something different. And we did not fight it, because we did not disagree that there wasn't an opportunity for something better to meet increased needs. I see that there's increased needs. I think the issue becomes one of how do you go about it, and this is a new application that hasn't been considered by this board at this level, with the PUD application, with the local law, with the specifics, and this is when you are first coordinating a review. We've already acknowledged that this is going to have environmental impacts, and we've made this recommendation before. Don't waste your time, don't waste their time, don't waste their money. We should be moving on in a structured process so that you can get through this in a way that actually provides opportunities for alternatives to be considered, because while this is his vision, obviously it's not the public's vision, and this is the process that you're supposed to go through so that you can consider alternative visions and come up with an optimized solution. It's okay for investors to want to make money. It's okay for the public to want their impacts to them to be protected. And we're asking that you use this process and not resist and don't, assume that you considered these things before, because you didn't. And so I ask you to please consider the letters we've submitted in some detail. For myself, I wanted to make a couple of comments as a resident of the town of Ramapo. I'm 61 years old. And, my husband and I are being offered almost weekly, somebody's calling wanting to buy my house. And I'm not planning to go anywhere at the moment, but at some point I do. And I'm always wondering, where am I gonna go? And I happen to like Ramapo, and I've always said that to everyone, that I like Ramapo. That's why I moved here in the first place. I invested money and I raised my family. I like the neighborhood. And so whenever I see new applications, I do think about it from a personal perspective. And I've been looking at this one, and this is where I really think that there needs to be a housing needs assessment. You should be looking at people like myself, what my housing needs, because there are a lot of people who would be thrilled if I finally sold my house and moved on. And so the question is, where do I move on? Where's the opportunity within this development for somebody like me, where I'd like to, 55 plus, occasionally I'd like to have my kids come and visit. I'd like to take some of the money and maybe invest in my retirement, and make some money. The overall numbers, if you look at them for this development, are not affordable. They're not affordable for pretty much anybody. That was one of the absolute driving arguments when the plans were considered, was like, how do you bring more affordability? There were a lot of comments during the Northeast plan about people saying we want $350,000 units and $400,000 units and all the rest. These units average over 900,000. Okay, so it's not the kind of place that someone's going to sell their single-family home and retire to, because you don't have that opportunity to downsize. Like, why do I want to go from what I have to something like that? On the flip side, my kids, I have 3 boys, and then, I have one that decided to go up to Buffalo. I got 2 that I'm trying to find a place that they need to move on. And there is nothing in this, like for them at this moment, because even the apartment buildings are bigger than they're looking for. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom apartments. I grew up in a 7-bedroom apartment on the Upper East Side. There's room for all sorts. But there's no studios. There's no, you need the studios, you need the 1-bedrooms. That's where you get the mix. That's where you have fluidity. You get workers, you get people who make up, integrated neighborhoods. And I think it's really important that you move on and you do the town's vision for this project. Something that meets the needs of everyone and that has alternatives to scale it back. And I say one last thing. I grew up in Manhattan, in a 6-story building next to Central Park. Having public parks that are accessible to everyone is fundamental to what makes Manhattan work. I grew up and I moved on to Park Slope, and I lived near the Brooklyn, next to the Botanical Gardens in Brooklyn. And it's the same thing. Those were the common areas that took disparate people and provided a framework that made people feel like a community. The one thing that, and I've expressed this to Mr. Gazarovski, and I'm surprised, I was led to believe during the Northeast planning that there was a vision on your behalf, that there would be something that was going to drive Ramapo forward. Not just like one developer's vision, but the idea that we were going to do some placemaking, and that we were going to do things that were integrated, walkable neighborhoods, bike paths, things that were of a benefit, and that those kinds of benefits was what you were looking for to reward developers with more density. And I'm just not seeing it with this application, and I think that I've asked in our letter from Elizabeth that you have your plans, develop a better expression of the town's vision, not specific to the global area, but to this particular site. You haven't done that before. It's time to do that. I do want this DEIS because that's supposed to be a representation of your vision, not his vision, but like a total analysis of this. And I think that we're going to find some optimized solutions that are going to address a lot of the concerns that I know everybody has. I think it's possible. And I think that that's the role that you have to play in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak at this time? We appear to be none. So we have a motion by Deputy Supervisor Charles to close the public hearing, seconded by Councilman Rossman. Mr. Gailey, I'm going to ask your advice Normally, we allow a written comment period. We did receive the GML. It was posted on our website. I don't know whether it was posted yesterday or today, but it's up there now. Would it be advisable in this case to allow a closed public hearing, allow a written comment period, especially to give people an opportunity to comment on the GML's recommendations and the planning board's recommendations?
Yes, that is my recommendation. I would suggest, a week or so till next Friday, November 3.
Okay, we have a consensus on that? So should that be part of the motion to close?
Yes.
So will you amend your motion to reflect that written comments will be received until the close of business on November 3rd?
Right, 4 p.m.
Say 4 p.m. on November 3rd. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries 5-0. So we will do that. Again, the GML review and the planning board recommendation have been posted on the town's website and are available. And we would welcome any written comments by close of business on November 3rd. Thank you, everybody.
Can I ask a question about the written comments?
Sure.
If I just, the website is not user-friendly by way of being able to find where to put the comments.
Well, no, we would ask, I'll clarify, what we usually do is we have comments submitted by, they can be by letter, but by email to the town clerk's office. Ms. Asherowitz, you could just give me the correct email address for receipt.
Ramapo.org. I think they want a link to see the other people's comments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
maybe
we
it's
will
different.
take
Yeah.
care of that. We are updating our website, supervised
Yeah.
by we're
Because
late,
it's so
we're talking about that.
user-unfriendly that I can never find it.
We don't disagree, yeah, we were just having that
We just
conversation,
had
that's
that-
why we were late,
that's
we
why
were
we're late.
frustrated over, inability to find some things.
Share your frustration.
We will be updating, we will be updating our website.
Very good. So the comments should go to Asherowitz, S, and Ramapo.org. Very good. And maybe we can put that on the website. It'll be part of the resolution, so people can
Before?
get it spelled correct.
Later.
Very good, thank you.
Yes.
We'll move on now to item 3, to schedule some public hearings. 3A is to set a public hearing. Oh, Mr. Russo, thank you.
Thank you.
Is to set a public hearing on the preliminary budget. As you know, we presented the tentative or supervisor's budget on, I believe it was September 30th? Or
October 2nd.
October 2nd, I'm sorry. And the board's had an opportunity to review it. At this point, it would become a preliminary budget. We would schedule a public hearing or public comment on it for November 8th at 7 p.m. And I'll call for a motion to schedule a public hearing at 8, motion by Councilman Foster, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Charles. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried 5-0. Public hearing on the preliminary budget will be November 8th at 7 p.m. Next item is to set a public hearing for the fire protection services for the Park Fire Protection District for 2024. I would ask that we set it at November 8th at 7:05 p.m. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Russell, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstained, carried 5-0. Item C is to set a public hearing for the fire protection services for the Johnstown Road Fire Protection District for 2024, suggested for November 8th at 7:06 p.m. Second, motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Russell, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstained, carried 5-0. Item B is to set a public hearing for fire protection services for the Ramapo Fire Protection District number 1 for 2024 for November 8th at 7:07 p.m. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Rossman, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstained, carried 5-0. E is to set a public hearing for Serve Fire Protection Services for Ramapo Fire Protection District number 2 for 2024 for November 8th at 7:08 p.m. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Rossman, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstained, carried 5-0. Item F is to set a public hearing for fire protection services for Ramapo Fire Protection District number 3 in the year 2024 for November 8th at 7:09 p.m. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Russell, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstained, carried 5-0. Next, item G is to set a public hearing for fire protection services for Ramapo Fire Protection District Number 4 for 2024, November 8th at 7:10 p.m. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second. Councilman Ross, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. And last, H, set a public hearing, Fire Protection Services for Ramapo Fire Protection District Number 5 for 2024, for November 8th at 7:11 p.m. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second. Councilman Ross, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. I'll take a short break from the agenda just to make an announcement. Is there a person named Woody Jamin in the room tonight? Okay. They bring their license. They bring their right to drive home. Okay. Yeah, we can check if there's anyone outside, and if not, we'll just keep it for tomorrow for lost and found if somebody calls. Thank you. Okay, item 4, we scheduled an executive session to talk to our outside counsel on 2 pending matters of litigation. We rescheduled that, she had availability issues, so there's no urgency, so we're gonna do it for the next meeting, November 8th at 2023. She'll, the attorney is here from South Level's terms, she'll come in and discuss the status of the matter. We move on to item 5. A, acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting held September 27, 2023. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second. You were out. Oh, motion, Councilman Newton, seconded, Councilman Rossman. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, carried. Are you abstaining or? No. Voting. Okay, got it. 5-0. Now we're going to item B, minutes of the special meeting held October 5th, 2023. Yeah, it shows no quorum, so.
That's the budget.
Oh, do we need, minutes of a budget meeting or a workshop? It was, it was a special, all right, then we need minutes. All right. Well, we didn't have a quorum. Yeah, that's a good point, there was no quorum and it wasn't a meeting.
But it was.
It was available.
It was to the clerk, presenting the budget.
The clerk, it was filed, it was copies were put in. The meeting was scheduled, if nobody shows, that's their loss, but the meeting was held. It was available.
But it said the presentation that the town clerk was in attendance.
Right.
And then the supervisor presented it to the town clerk.
And the clerk placed copies of the tenth budget, each of the town board members' town hall mailboxes. I think it's sufficient.
I'm fine with it.
I don't know if we need to approve the minutes, but, I don't know.
I can't.
No, that's fine. I mean, you weren't there, that's
Right,
great.
okay, so.
Very good. We're gonna move on to item 6, town attorney agenda.
Good evening, everybody. Item 6A is ratification of the suspension of public comment period on the scoping outline for Harriman Meadows. It was originally scheduled to end on October 27th. It was brought to our attention that some materials were posted late, and the supervisor agreed to extend that period to November 13th at 4 p.m., and this is a resolution just ratifying his action.
Thank you. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded, Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. Item B.
6B, settlement of tax cert Commerce Bank. This is, actually, I have. Yeah, so settlement of cert Commerce Bank, the assessment was reduced from 141 to 130, no tax refund of town funds, and this is for the year 23-24.
Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded, Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. For the next item, Rosalco Foundation, I'm going to recuse myself, having represented the Board of Supervisor as a lawyer, one of the principals of the not-for-profits. I think it would be appropriate for me to step down from the bench, and I'll ask Deputy Supervisor Charles to chair this part of the meeting.
Thank you, Supervisor. And item C, settlement of tax or charity for Ramapo Foundation, Inc.
Yes, this is a tax cert settlement exemption case. It applies to the years 2017, 18, 21, and 22.
How much?
It's 100% exemption, so there's no calculation of the amount of the refund at this time. But you can see the correct assessment is for, actually, for each year, they're exempt, so the assessment rate remains the same, but they're exempt.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by, Councilman Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilman Bruno. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. 4-0.
One
Oh, you're
exception.
saying,
No, I abstain.
with the supervisor's
That's
abstention.
right. Thank you, Deputy Supervisor.
Thank you.
We're going to item V now.
Yes, this is another settlement for tax search for Ramapo Trust. This was an assessment that was around $60,000 originally. We brought it down to about $47,500 over the course of several years, 2014 to present. The refund of town taxes totals $1,123.73.
Motion by Deputy Supervisor Charles, second by Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried 5-0. Item E.
The 2000 tax cert of the Sephardic Heritage Center Charitable Trust. This is an exemption case. The assessor agreed to a settlement whereby they are exempt for the 23-24 tax year. So they will be exempt going forward.
Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles to approve, second Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried 5-0. Go to item F.
Yes, this is, the next few items are just acceptance of easements or some housekeeping. The first one is acceptance of easements of Congregation Merkaz, Hatorah, Bell Harbor. In all of these cases, the meets and bounds has been reviewed by our engineer and the legal documents have been reviewed and approved by the town attorney.
If I could just clarify, item F, Pennington lots is going to be withdrawn for tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have any backup for it.
It was done already.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
Is that a reason?
Right. So, Sephardic Heritage Center Charitable Trust is a drainage easement.
Wait, Merkaz Hatorah, yeah.
Oh,
Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. Now we're going to page 21 ordinance.
okay, sorry.
No problem, no problem.
Again, this is for an acceptance of the 5-foot wide shade tree easement for 21 Orchard.
Motion, Deputy Supervisor, second, Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. And we'll go to item I, 4 Dolson Road.
Also a 5-foot wide shade tree easement for Dolson.
Motion, Councilman Ross, second, Deputy Supervisor Charles, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Mealy. We'll go to personnel, Ms. Martell, who will
Thank
advise us
you.
on.
This is the appointment of a payroll clerk typist in the finance department. Gabrielle Kohler, who's currently working here, is going to be moved to be a probationary payroll clerk typist off of our current civil service list.
I know we just put somebody in there, didn't we just hire somebody a few weeks ago?
No,
I remember we brought that couple of.
I understand, no, we didn't.
You said there was somebody that was retiring?
Yes, there are 2 people retiring, and that
Is
person.
that, so you're looking
that-
to replace that job?
I'm sorry? There are 2 people retiring, 1 person is coming in now before they retire to learn how to be a payroll clerk.
Motion to approve. Supervisor Charles, seconded, Councilman Russell, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. So now, we'll stay with you, go to the purchasing agenda.
Yes, extension of the Beckerly lumber supply for purchasing of building materials.
Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded, Councilman Russell, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0.
Extension of West Point Tours Inc. for buses for various trips as an extension.
Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles.
time we redid this?
The extension is built into the contract, you're more than welcome to look on the website to look at the bid.
So when was the last time we redid it? How often do we redid this, or do we just extend it?
No, we don't always extend it. We have an additional extension of 1 year, which will end our opportunity, and then we go out to
They
bid
have to
again.
rebid it. Very good. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded, Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. Item C.
Extension of the agreement with Yamaha Fence Company for various fencing work within the town of Ramapo. It's the same facts.
Just quick, on the bottom, I see, I don't know if it's a mistake, but that's the illegal name. You got Error Systems, is that a mistake?
Yeah, it's probably an error. It's Yamaha Fence work, but we'll double check that.
And is there a way of us knowing before we just put out the fencing, or is that something?
That's something that's done based upon the administrative offices of the supervisor, the highway superintendent,
And the Parks
and the
Director.
Parks
Is
and
there a
Recreation.
dollar amount for it?
No, there's not.
Is there a way of us being informed of it?
No. You'll see it in the budget. If you don't want to approve it, you don't have to.
Is there a motion? Yes. Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, so carries 4-1, one abstention. Go to item D.
Extension of the agreement of Davis Technology Group for fire and sprinkler maintenance at the JTS Center, JT Grandstands, JTS Bubble, and the Cultural Arts Center.
Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0.
Mr. Supervisor, I'm going to let you enjoy the next
I
name.
did not ask, because I like the name.
Yeah, it's good.
Extension of the agreement for the ThyssenKrupp Elevator Corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you. ThyssenKrupp.
So,
You just signed it? Oh, ThyssenKrupp.
ThyssenKrupp Elevator Corporation, extension of the maintenance of the elevators at Clover Stadium.
We have a motion. Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded by Councilman Ross. Why?
It's
That's a
24.
good question.
Yeah.
Question is this something that comes under the accounts budget or the LGCs?
The town.
Okay. Then that's a question. Then there's a motion
That's
second.
based upon the OEM agreement with the.
With the state, that's right, with the LGC. Motion seconded, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. Item F, acceptance proposal from Rio Valley.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, as discussed, we have several contracts that we're negotiating. We find it imperative to have a legal counsel that is very specific to HR. We received a proposal, and I'm asking you to accept this proposal.
Very good.
So I'm trying to understand this one, because this looks like, it's 5 hours and 4,000, I understand it's another legal documents. I've worked with good firms.
Yeah.
Which just seems very high for HR, for moving forward.
It's not. We could have taken the higher one, which would have been more, and this is what I'm asking
Who else have you
for.
spoken with?
I spoke to the owner of the company.
No, you said you spoke with some other companies that were higher. Who else have you spoken with?
No, this is the
Let
company
me
that.
point out that it's not just for 5 hours of legal work, it includes training, handbooks, manuals. This is just 5 hours of a lawyer's time, but there's other services that are provided.
Are we expecting that monthly, or?
This would be a monthly,
That's
a
the
monthly
additional work.
retainer.
You expect the additional work also?
I don't know how long.
We are following the direction of the auditors that came in that said we needed to upgrade our manuals. We don't have an employee handbook. This is what was recommended by Nancy, what's her name?
Zelke.
So this is following through with that.
They're a good firm, I've
Yeah.
used them in the past.
We use them on individual items, so I believe so. It's month to month. We have to give 30 days notice to cancel. It would be, they have 3 levels,
On the page 8F, it says.
4,000, basic level would be 2,000, and the level they're looking for is 4,000, and they have a premium level of 6,000. No, it just runs month to month, we would cancel it on 30 days notice. It would run forever, apparently.
It runs every year.
Every year, yearly, is that what it is?
We would,
Theoretically, they can raise the rates, they can change their rates.
correct. We will approve it moving forward in the budget for 2024.
We could always, it indicated that we could start at the middle level, and we can raise or lower it as needed also on a month.
This is going effective.
It would go into effect for next month, right, or November. Very good. Motion. Deputy Supervisor Charles, second, Councilman Ross, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried, 4-0, 5-0. Go to Item
G, the third-party administration for alcohol and drug testing for 24. This is what we pay, this is who we use, Partners in Safety.
It's the same rates as last year.
Yes.
Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded, Councilman Rossman, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. Item H.
This is the renewal of the cyber risk policy for LaBelle.
Motion, Deputy Supervisor Charles, seconded, Councilman Rossman, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. Item I, College Road Walkway Shuttling Services.
This is recommended and requested by Fred Brin, our highway superintendent. He has a proposal for Chiapi Services and going to put the walkway along College Road from Dina Lane to Rockland College parking lot for $25,000.
Are we intending on doing the regular cycle as well?
Not in this kind of area. This is a path so that people can go through, like 2 minutes path as opposed to having.
What's the proposal that was
Correct. This is retroactively approving what the highway superintendent did.
This was done.
This is done.
Why would we be just saying it here?
The highway superintendent submitted it. He had his discretion to do the work, and he's now submitting the bill to us to approve that.
And the finance department wanted to come before the board since it's using capital funding.
Was this paid already? Is that no, it's pending, is that no process?
It's certainly not unusual and not impossible.
So
I mean, we'll like the sidewalk.
Yeah,
You know,
and that sidewalk, that path has been very popular, to be honest. People like that stuff. So I'll call for a motion.
is there a way of suggesting in the future some notice on it?
That would be up to the highway superintendent's discretion. This is his department, and he doesn't operate under our direction.
How does that work? Regular cycles, what would be called a discussion versus the
anything to do with highway.
Highway, he's in the point, he's his own elected official. This would come out of his
Capital, this is capital. This is out of our capital.
Oh, no, you're right,
It's
source of
not-
funds is ours.
It's never his budget. You set the budget, and then it's at his discretion. So you could say no, and he'll take it out of his budget.
Right.
But it makes much more sense to take it out of the capital, which was the choice of the finance department made that decision.
So what sidewalks come into the town versus come on the highway? What's the differentiation? Like we did stuff that we do in Viola and the other areas.
Well, every sidewalk on a public highway is done through the highway department, but we also fund it. We work with the highway department. Happy to talk about that at a workshop, which we have on Monday. And now we have an item on board for that. Yes, this is Supervisor Charles, second Councilman Rossman. All in favor? Aye. Abstaining, rejecting, carried 5-0. Finally, approval of the change order of the Ramapo Boulevard drainage project.
This is another one of those things that we want to clean up to make sure that we understood what went on here. We're getting this money back from FEMA, most of it, but in order for us to finalize and submit the final portion, we have to create a change order. This is for Ralph Boulevard drainage collapse. I'll say that Mr. Josh Hans and Mr. Lynch, I think a few other people work diligently to ensure that we're going to get funding back. This is the change order that we need in order to make that happen.
And we have a letter from Mr. Brin explaining the need for it. Call for a motion. Deputy Supervisor Charles, second Councilman Rossman, all in favor, aye. Opposed, so no. Carried 3-0, 3-2. And we'll go on now to number 9, general matters. Authorization for 2 members of the police administration staff to attend New York Law Enforcement Assistance Program in Clifton Park. We have a motion by Judge Charles, seconded Councilman Rossman, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. And last, we have an authorization of 2 officers to attend the Stockton Liberty Line Conference in Utica, New York. Motion, Councilman Rossman, seconded Deputy Supervisor Charles, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstaining, carried 5-0. And at this point, there's no further business. I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Deputy Supervisor Charles, Councilman Rossman, second, all in favor, aye. We stand by all in Anyone opposed? We stand adjourned.
That was just really, thank you.